I'm Greg Loftin, and I'm currently working a very full-time job as course leader for editing and post-production at Ravensbourne University, which is in Greenwich, in London, and right on the Thames. Uh, yeah, that's editing post-production. This is really, I guess, where I spend most of my time these days. I wrote, directed, and edited an indie film called Saxon in 2008, and it won, I think, Best Drama at that ÉCU Festival in 2008, which was a thrilling thing. I mean, it was just wonderful. So, Saxon is a black comedy. It's a kind of Western set on a housing estate, and it sort of riffs a little bit on that great feature film Unforgiven, Clint Eastwood, and it's one of those projects. I guess you'd call it a passion project, where once the idea had taken shape in my head, and once I started to draft countless versions of the script, it kind of built up its own traction, to the point where, towards the final iteration of the script, I had this feeling of, I just have to make this film or I'll die. It was so important to me, by whatever means. And actually, rather crazily, the means were that we got a second mortgage on our house so that we could make this film. Really, I would not advise this. This is a bad idea. Do not do this. I mean, in a way, I regret nothing of it, because it was just so thrilling to make the film, and to get it out there. And it's still kicking around, actually. I think you can get it on Prime or Netflix or somewhere. So it's still around. ÉCU was a big one on our radar. We really wanted to get it accepted, of course, and to spend a couple of days in Paris, which is no bad thing. The festival itself, I remember, it seems like a long time ago, but actually I've got a quite vivid memory of it. And it was an electric space. The festival is a place where, I don't know, it's a generator of great creativity and excitement. You're bumping into lots of filmmakers and enthusiasts, and making great connections. Yeah. And so we were obviously completely over the moon when we discovered we'd been selected as Best Drama. And in fact, I think on the back of that, I was invited back the following year as a judge. I'm always writing scripts. Getting them made, well, actually finding time to write scripts is kind of difficult these days, because I've got such a full-on job. But I've always got a script sort of on the back burner. Talent agency representation, and they worked with me for a number of years, putting out various film scripts. But as I said, you'd go some distance, with production companies, and then projects would, we didn't even get into turnaround phase, but we certainly had some great interviews and some great discussions with producers and so on. But really, none of them came to fruition. But it is interesting because I was also, partly because, I'm also an academic. I started a PhD, connected my two big passions of editing and script writing. And the premise of my PhD was simply this: what can script writers learn from film editors about storytelling? And so I set off on a new journey which resulted in a PhD, and then a manual, which was published by Michael Weesey Productions and is out there right now. The book is called Writing for the Cut, and I'm really proud of it. And on the back of that, again, I started to get quite interested in developing software around screenwriting, a screenwriting app that looked and behaved quite a lot like an editing interface, media-rich environment, creating text, images, and sounds, found footage, AI-generated imagery, and real timelines, so that you could, right from the get-go, use this app as a kind of way of, sort of rapid prototyping for screenwriting stories. This app that allows you to, like prefigure your film before it's made. Software is still something in development, and it's currently the working title for it is StoryJig. I will just add that I'm never entirely out of production, so I'm exec producing a short film next week, in fact, called Ghost Notes, and it's been lovely. And it's actually for the university, so that we can create rushes for our students. The rushes that our students can use to create their own version. That was the main purpose. So there'll be a galaxy of versions of this movie. So we're kind of, as it were, shooting different possibilities, like 2 different endings. And the students, in a way, can select the jigsaw pieces to make the story that makes most sense to them. You really have to hold on to your passion. Saxon was made on the sheer traction and energy that I and people around me who'd been reading the script generated. And you really need to, that you really need that kind of energy and traction to sustain a project like a feature film. If it's your first, and I'm guessing some of the people, maybe who are watching this will be their first film. In some ways, it's become increasingly easy to make a feature film. It's never easy, but we have so much readily available technology where it won't cost you a fortune, to make a movie. And it's just that thing of thinking realistically and creatively about how you can make the movie. I like to pass on the advice, and I do to students too, of maybe start with the location and work your story backwards from that. I know that sounds kind of mad, but actually, if you can find a great location, one that looks cinematic, think of the possibilities, the narrative possibilities of that space. And it's quite an interesting way to work.